Olga's revenge. This is after Jesus. This is after Confucius, after Buddha, after Muhammad. You got Rurik and you got Oleg and Igor and Olga. So these are the founding, so-called founding Russian princes, right? They are Swedish Vikings. These Swedish Vikings, Oleg, Rurik, Igor, and Olga, are the founders of the so-called Kievan Rusian state. So 862 is when you're going to have Rurik, a Swedish Viking Ruski, who established their state in Ladoga and Novgorod, which is in the north part of Russia. And then in 882, you're going to have Oleg, who's going to kill Askold and Dur, and then he takes Kiev away from Askold and Dur, and then that is the historical time of when the Kievan Rus begins, 882 AD. Oleg, when Oleg takes over, this is after he'd be King Oleg. And then when King Oleg from Novgorod goes to Kiev and then kills their people and then takes over, that's the beginning of the Kievan Rus. Now, 945 is when Igor is ripped in two by the Drevlians. So you're going to have these taxing, Drevlians are the native Ukrainians, and so are the Polans, and so are the Radomichis and the Severinians and a whole bunch of Eastern Slavic tribes. 945, 960, because Igor's going to get ripped in two, you're going to have Olga, who's going to declare revenge on the Drevlians. So Igor, taxed him 2 times in 1 month, which was his fatal crime, and they're going to tie him up to 2 birch trees and then cut the rope and then rip him into two and kill him. So the Swedish Vikings, you have Rurik and Oleg and Olga. And Igor, God, this almost covers every which one of them. So Drevlians, you got the tribe, killed her husband Igor. So that's who Olga is. Olga is the wife of Igor of Novgorod. Igor is a Swedish Viking. Olga is a Swedish Viking. Her grandson Vladimir is going to convert the entire Kievan Rus nation to Christianity. After Igor's death at the hands of the Drevlians, Olga assumed the throne because her 3-year-old son Sviatoslav was too young to rule. The Drevlians, emboldened by their success, Sviatoslav is actually one of the baddest princes. So the Drevlians, emboldened by their success in ambushing and killing the king, sent a messenger with a message to Olga proposing that she marry the guy who murdered him, Prince Maul, like Darth Maul. Holy shit, that's some goddamn. Hey, the goddamn king that just murdered, how you was the queen and we just killed your husband. Well, we want you to marry to the new king. What do you say? What do you say? And so fucking shit, this is when shit gets a little fucking dicey. This is when shit gets, so this is Olga's revenge, okay? 20 Drevlian negotiators had voted to Kiev to pass along their king's message and to ensure Olga's compliance. 20 of them, 20 Drevlians. They arrived in Olga's court and told the queen why they're in Kiev to report that they had slain her husband and that Olga should come and marry their Prince Maul. Olga responded, "Well, your proposal is pleasing to me. Indeed, my husband cannot rise again from the dead, but I desire to honor you tomorrow in the presence of all my people. Return now to your boat. Remain there with an aspect of arrogance. I shall send for you on the morrow, and you shall say, we will not ride on horses nor go on foot. Carry us in our boat, and you shall be carried in your boat." When the Drevlians returned the next day, they waited outside Olga's court to receive the honor she had promised. When they repeated the words she had told them to say, the people of Kiev rose up, carrying the Drevlians in their boat, as they said they would. The ambassadors believed this was a great honor, as if they were being carried by a palanquin. The people brought them into court, where they dropped them into a trench that had been dug the day before under Olga's orders, where the ambassadors were then buried alive. It's written that Olga bent down to watch them as they were buried and inquired whether they found the honor to their taste. You like to be honored, huh? You want to be honored, huh? So she's acting like this is, we will go ahead and Crazy. Why would they believe any of this shit? It makes no sense. There's 20 of them, one of her. And then it says, your proposal is pleasing to me, but I desire to honor you tomorrow. Go there to your boat right now and remain there with an aspect of arrogance. And then don't ride on horses. No, don't ride on horses. That's getaway vehicle. No, don't go on foot. Nah, just we'll carry you. We'll carry you in your boat. Yeah, it'd be cool. Nah, it'd be all right. It'd be cool. Yeah, like a palanquin, palanquin. And then Olga then sent a message to the Drevlians that they should send their distinguished men to her in Kiev, so that she might go to their prince with due honor. So the people at the, Drevlians back home didn't know what had happened. The Drevlians, unaware of the fate of the first diplomatic party, gathered another party of men to send the best men who governed the land of Dreva. When they arrived, Olga commanded her people to draw them a bath and invited the men to appear before her after they had bathed. When the Drevlians entered the bathhouse, Olga had it set on fire from the door so that all the Drevlians within were burned to death. Come on in, guys. Now, why don't you take your shoes off? Why don't you go ahead and hop in the shower? Take yourselves a nice fucking bath. Nah, go ahead with your little, arrogant faces. Go on in the goddamn shower room with your arrogant faces. Olga sent another message to the Drevlians, this time ordering them to prepare great quantities of mead, some alcoholic honey alcohol, in the city, an alcoholic beverage, in the city where you killed my husband. In the city where you killed my husband. I want you to prepare some alcohol so that I may weep over his grave and hold a funeral feast for him. And that's what she did. Olga and a small group of attendants arrived at Igor's tomb. Igor, my poor Igor, she did indeed weep. Poor Olga. She wept and she held a funeral feast. The Drevlians sat down to join them and began to drink heavily. When the Drevlians were drunk, Olga ordered her followers to kill them and went about herself, egging on her retinue to massacre the rest of the Drevlians, which, according to the primary chronicles, she did, and so did all the rest of her men. 5,000 Drevlians were killed on that single night. Olga is going to return to Kiev to prepare an army to finish off the survivors. The initial conflict between the armies of the two nations went very well for the forces of the Kievan Rus, who won the battle handily and drove the survivors back into their cities. Olga then led her army to Iskorostan, which is today just Korostan, the city where her husband had been ripped in two, and laid siege to the city. The siege lasted for a year without success. So in spite of her killing 5,000 Drevlians, there's still some more Drevlians holding out. Why do you persist in holding out? Olga asked the few survivors. Why do you persist in holding out? All your cities have surrendered to me and submitted to tribute, so that the inhabitants now cultivate their fields and their lands in peace. But you had rather die of hunger without submitting to tribute. The Drevlians responded that they would submit to tribute, but they're afraid that Olga was still intent on avenging her husband. We'll pay you fucking taxes, man. Shit, will you leave us alone? Olga answered that the murder of the messengers sent to Kiev, as well as the events of the feast night, had been enough to quench her bloodlust. Then she asked him for a small request. Will you just give me 3 pigeons and 3 sparrows from each house? That's all I ask. It'll be the last thing I ask of you guys, okay? I just want 3 pigeons and 3 sparrows from each house. And the Drevlians rejoiced at the prospect of the siege finally being over for such a small price. They did exactly what she asked. Olga then instructed her army to attach a piece of sulfur bound with small pieces of cloth to each bird. At nightfall, Olga told her soldiers to set the pieces of sulfur bound with small pieces of cloth aflame and release the birds. And so that's what they did. The soldiers released the pigeons and the sparrows. And they ran all across. They went to their nest in the city. And they lit their nest on fire. And then that lit the tree, and then that lit the city on fire. As the primary chronicle tells it, there was not a house that was not consumed, and it was impossible to extinguish the flames because all the houses caught on fire at once. As the people fled the burning city, Olga ordered her soldiers to catch them, killing some of them and giving the others as slaves to her followers. She left the remnant to pay tribute. All right, you three, we're going to enslave you. You three, they're going to enslave you. And you three, you're going to pay me $1 every year until you're dead. Oh, okay, yeah, shit, fucking shit. Yeah, okay. Weird, give me 3 pigeons and 3 sparrows. Why do people have so many damn pigeons and sparrows in their... Y'all got 3 pigeons? Oh, man, I got 15,000 pigeons in my house. I got all the sparrows you need. How many sparrows you need? How many sparrows you want? Nah, I got it. How many? As many as you want. How many? I'll get you I'll get you all the sparrow you need. What? So the Keevan Rus is supposed to be the golden years of the ancient Rus. They had a state, right? And a domain in large cities, lots of trade, but they weren't no Byzantine Empire, huh? They weren't no Byzantium. They weren't no goddamn Mongolian Empire. That's for goddamn sure. They weren't even no fucking British Empire. They weren't even a goddamn, Chinese Empire, if they've ever had one. Has China had an empire? I'm sure they had an empire at some point in time. There ain't no American Empire either. Keevan Rus could suck American Empire as fucking chode. You know what I mean? So there you go. Fucking goddamn Olga. Olga is that's one crazy bitch, huh? That's one crazy fucking bitch. God damn. In a way, like, I was thinking about if you have a terrible bloody end, it's a terrible end for you. But if you're a badass motherfucker, take Guy Fawkes, for example. They fucking, drawn and quartered him and, burned him and, like, put him on his head on a pike and a whole bunch of shit. So the Pilgrims did the same shit with some of the Pequot warriors. And so when I think about that, that's not the end all be all. In fact, all it says is that this motherfucker was hated. These people hated this person. Oh my God. But why did they hate Guy Fawkes? Because he about blew up Parliament, And I forget the other example, but that's all it's saying is that, that they were fucking hated. And so she kills the shit out of all these Drevlians. They killed Igor, but Igor was taxing them, and they ripped Igor in half. And I feel like, that could have been like shit, the death blow to their bloodlines. I mean, that's not, you're the family that produces all the kings and your fucking king just got ripped in half. That don't sound too kingly to me. The Rurik dynasty is going to produce Ivan the Terrible. And Ivan the Terrible is his bloodlines ends with Fyodor. So he ends the Rurik dynasty. But, I'm getting off track here. Olga is a fucking Swedish Viking. These Swedish Viking motherfuckers are going all over the place. Leif Erikson discovered America, so Norwegian, Vikings are in Iceland, the Danish, you got the Hanseatic League, the Norway, you got Sweden, you got the Gotlanders, you got these Vikings kind of, right there in the Baltic Sea. They took over Ladoga. There's a fortress in Ladoga. They also raised a Swedish king there, a Swedish king apparently who's going to rival Bjorn Ironside. Bjorn Ironside, this is the time of Bjorn Ironside and, his Ragnar Lothbrok, his father, his legendary father. Both of them are legends. But this is, the Keevan Rus, like I just said, the fucking house of the, not Novgorod, but Ladoga. In the house of Ladoga, they produced a king of Sweden who ruled for 6 years, 1060 to 1066, and I think they kicked the house of Munso, which is the house of, Bjorn Ironside and Ragnar Lothbrok. They kicked their fucking house because they ran Sweden. I mean, Bjorn Ironside isn't just like a famous conqueror or whatever. He's a king. He was a king of Sweden for, a spat of time. The original Russian towns be Luzero, Murom, Novgorod, Polotsk, Rostov, and of course Lagoda and Novgorod. The original Slav tribes are the Polans, the Drevlians, the Dregoviches, Radomiches, the Viachis, the Kriviches, Slovenes, Dulebs, the White Croats, Severians, Uliches, Tvertsis, Viachis, the Viachis. The Viachis were democratic. The Viachis believed in self-government. The Viachis is going to kill one of their fucking people later on. I think the Saint Cuckster. The Slovenes were the Novgorod Slavs. So the Slovenes were the original, Slavs. So the Slovenes could be considered the original Russian, or the original Russian were the Slovenes. I don't know how. The Muscovites, so they're all up there, in Ladoga, Novgorod. Then you have, they conquered the Slovenes. They were oppressed victims. So the Slovenes should definitely identify with the Drevlians and the Polans, the Polyanas, the Polans, the Polyanis. The name comes from the Old East Slavic, which means field, because according to the primary chronicle, the Polyanas, the Polans, Kiev, the Keevan and his two brothers and sister, because you had three brothers and a sister. King Key, who was a ferryman, he ferried people across the river, the Dnieper River, and then declared himself king of Kiev and founded the town of Kiev after Kievets had failed on the Danube. In roughly 862, the Polans were attached to the ancient Rus. The land of the Polans was at a crossroads of territories belonging to different Eastern Slavic tribes, such as the Drevlians, Radomiches, Drehovians, Severians, connected them all with water arteries. An important trade route called the road from the Varangians to the Greeks passed through the land of the Polans. Kiev, Dnieper connected northern Europe with the Black Sea and the Byzantine Empire. So, the road from the Varangians to the Greeks, this is, the Varyags, right? The Varangians are the Swedish Vikings. The Varangians is Oleg and Rurik and Igor and Olga. And Olga, I saw a statue. Olga is kind of a fucking ugly name, clunky, ugly name, but she looked beautiful. Those statues in the pictures look beautiful. So I don't know, Olga. And then she's such a ruthless, bloodthirsty. They venerated her as a saint. She killed 5,000 Drevlians in one day. That's kind of like fucking Samson killing fucking 3,000 Philistines, at the very end of his life. And then he just crushed the columns and killed 3,000 Philistines. It's just kind of a sentence, so it seems like it would be easy just to, lie about something like that. But fuck, and then she kept fighting him, so she killed 5,000 Drevlians, but they're still around. So, and then in a way, Igor was in the wrong. Igor was taxing the shit out of them, and he taxed him 2 times in 1 month, and so, they didn't take kindly to being taxed or oppressed or fucking ruled over. The Viachis, they were self-governing, they believed in there was no hierarchy. The social structure wasn't as hierarchical as a prince, and there you go, the Polo Chans and Smolensk Kriviches, the Izborsk Kriviches, the Novgorod Slavs, Lithuanian tribes. You know how it is. The Pechenegs and the Polo Chans. The Pechenegs. We got the Pechenegs and the Polakons. The Polakons. It was suggested that originally the Krivichi were native to the area around Polotsk. The Krivichi. The Krivichis, they were native to the area around Polotsk. I think Kriviches were descendants of the Polo Chans, Krivichis. They're a tribal union. The Kriviches are a tribal union of early East Slavs between the 6th and 12th centuries. I don't know. Do you think so? You think the Kriviches were native to the area around Polotsk? Sounds like a bunch of bullshit to me.